unpopular things, starting with this is not good. Also, this is not a peaceful protest. But something very disturbing is happening in the background that I think you should know about. It's time to deploy Palunteer to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't. What? This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for.
There's a high possibility, like 85% chance, the CIA is putting paid actors in the protest so they could cause a lot of chaos. So the FBI has a thing called the COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, where they literally infiltrate, disrupt, and discredit all the political organizations. The FBI has been using the same old trick on us for years and is still working.
Diabolical. Why is Trump allowing this to happen? Jimmy continues. Because Trump is not what he appears to be. Why did he shut down the investigation into his attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania? Why did his FBI chief insist that Epstein committed suicide? Why did Trump keep Doge from going to the Pentagon? Why did Trump explode the Pentagon budget and the debt instead of cutting it like he promised? It's become Trump. It's because Trump is not actually an opponent of the deep state, but he is in bed with them, which is why he was allowed to become president in the first place.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast. So remember when I told y'all that if you make it to the White House, you're controlled? On the right, on the left, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you agree with these people. I just need you all to think objectively, right? And I'm going to talk about this in my Martin Luther King video, but every leader that we see has someone else's interest in mind, right? The things that they're talking about, the things that they're spreading to us and they're sharing with us are other people's ideas, right? Every leader has a funder. Every leader has an investor or investors. Like, they have people that are backing them, right? And Trump is no different, right? And even when you look at stuff like the assassination attempt and the attempt on his life, all this carefully crafted narrative that's been placed behind Trump, and they manipulate people like us, like me. You take Christians, you take people that are conservative, that you take people who value certain things in this country, and they make the current administration, that being the people on the left, they become so radical that you have people who aren't even conservative, people that aren't even Christian, who have always classified themselves as leftists or people that are more progressive, so to speak. They're looking at the Democrats like, man, y'all going too far with the children stuff. Y'all going too far with the trans stuff. Y'all going too far with the immigration stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that becomes people's perspective, that you create this cult behind Trump. And now you got these people that's just blindly following Trump. Trump can do no wrong. And they can't see clearly as to the purpose of why Trump was brought in to begin with. But we're clearly seeing it now. For those of you who don't know, Los Angeles is on fire. In some cases, quite literally, because tens of thousands of people have took to the streets over the past 4 days in LA, basically protesting President Trump's immigration raids and the deployment of National Guard soldiers to protect federal agents. And it's gotten so bad now that as of today, President Trump has even publicly endorsed the idea of Governor Gavin Newsom being arrested.
Arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn, but I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop, and we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
But this is deeper than just some protest. People, immigration has been a thing under every single president. President Obama deported, I believe, like triple the amount of illegal immigrants than Donald Trump has ever deported. So why are they protesting now? Now, I will agree, I don't agree with the way in which Trump is going about doing it. There is a more humane way of doing these things. But if you want and expect us to believe that these people are organically rioting the streets at such a convenient time when you're trying to pass the BBB bill, or the Big Beautiful Bill, that is quite literally bringing in the movement of massive surveillance in a way in which we've never seen in American history. And again, all of this has been orchestrated because now people not only blindly support and follow Trump, but then you look at what's happening in LA. This is clearly a psyop. You look at what's happening in LA and you say, look, this is one of the biggest reasons why we need massive AI surveillance. And they do this by intentionally creating the problem themselves, which in this case is illegal immigration, to then elicit a reaction from the people so they can then present the solution, which is the Palunteer powered AI surveillance police state. And this is called, and again, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in my Martin Luther King video, which hopefully will be the next video. It's probably going to be 30 or 40 minutes long. It's going to be a very in-depth breakdown of who Martin Luther King was and what his true purpose was. It's similar to what is happening right now in Los Angeles with the Trump administration. This is called the Hegelian dialectic. So basically, for those of you who have never heard of this, it's similar to good cop versus bad cop scenarios, right? So the Democrats play the side of the quote-unquote bad cop, encouraging, facilitating, and enabling illegal immigration while busing in Soros-funded Antifa to destroy cities when ICE tries to deport them. Then the Republicans, or in this particular case MAGA, they play the side of the quote-unquote good cop by encouraging, facilitating, and enabling ICE, SWAT team, and even wanting the military to quote-unquote fix the problem quickly, which would, literally be against the law because of the Posse Comitatus Act. This is an illusion that either one side or the other is working for the good of the American people. It is a carefully crafted psyop and false flag designed to manipulate the public at large into accepting this AI police state, all in the name of your government keeping you quote unquote safe from quote unquote terrorism. They're lying to us. And in time, this will be weaponized against all of us. So in layman terms, what we are witnessing is the state intentionally creating chaos to then bring in a new world order police state system in which dissent will be swiftly crushed and what is left of our rights will be completely and totally eviscerated. Please do not be fooled and misguided. And I think my friends over at the Jimmy Dore Show perfectly described it.
So James Lee here commented on this. It kind of sums up a lot of what we've been talking about here.
Say some pretty unpopular things, starting with this is not good. Also, this is not a peaceful protest. But something very disturbing is happening in the background that I think you should know about. It's time to deploy Palunteer to Los Angeles to deal with the illegals. You know you love to see it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't.
What?
This is the grand plan. Okay, it's not an accident that cars are burning on the streets and people are waving foreign flags on the streets. There is something they're trying to manufacture consent for. Remember, when they justified the passing of the Patriot Act over 20 years ago, they told us we needed all this extra power to go after the bad guys, to get rid of the terrorists. But almost immediately, the government started to use that extra power they were given to spy on ordinary Americans, right? How can you be so sure that you will not be deemed an enemy of the state one day? There's absolutely no guarantee that this master database won't be weaponized against you. And to be perfectly honest, history tells us that the likelihood is pretty high that it will be used against you one day. So to quote RFK Jr., 1, any power that the government takes from the people, it will never return voluntarily. 2, every power that the government takes, it will ultimately be abused to the maximum extent possible. 3, nobody ever complied their way out of totalitarianism. The only thing we can do is resist. Be careful out there, people.
RFK Jr. should tell his boss that. So Kurt Metzger, friend of show Kurt Metzger, replied to Laura Loomer, "Do you really not comprehend the level of evil fuck of Alex Karp and Peter Thiel and Ian Carroll? Laura, how would you feel if it was deployed to target Jews? Not great, right? Once you give the government a power, you never give it back. You are giving that power to every future administration. So the question should always be, what if this was used to target me?" Now, Kentucky statesman here responding to Thomas Massey, while ICE officers are battling violent mobs in the Los Angeles PSYOP, Stephen Miller is working hard to pass the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, to shield Palunteer and their Orwellian AI surveillance algorithms from being regulated by the states for 10 years so they can't interfere with the upcoming New World Order. And what he's quote tweeting from Massey is the big beautiful bill contains a provision banning state and local governments from regulating AI. It's worse than you think. It would make it easier for corporations to get zoning variants so massive AI data centers could be built in close proximity to residential areas. Getting the picture? Getting the picture? I'll throw in a little side element that's not in this slideshow. We did a story about how the University of Zurich did an experiment that they caught hell for because they didn't tell anyone they were doing it. They sent AI bots into Reddit to persuade people of things, and they found that they were more persuasive than humans. Now, if the University of Zurich just did that experiment, what do you think the odds are that the three-letter agencies have not been doing that for years and years? Look at some of the really crazy, divisive comments you'll see on X, and then go look at how many followers they have. It's like 27, right? Why? Almost always. You think they're not setting loose fake AI bots posing as people in order to steer you in one direction or another, depending on your ideological biases, and keep you arguing over the immigrants and the wall while they build a police state around you? So this is Whitney, who basically this is her life's work exposing this kind of thing. Palunteer is not just a military contractor. It was a company created to privatize and house the Bush-era neocon-run surveillance program, Total Information Awareness, housed previously at DARPA, and put it under increased CIA control, though the CIA was also intimately involved with TIA. TIA was shut down by Congress because it would have eradicated the constitutional right to privacy, but Palunteer has accomplished that and gotten away with it because it is a private sector entity. You know how we're always saying, well, we should make social media a publicly held interest in order to have constitutional protections. Okay, so if you're a government agency like the CIA, you have to stay within certain constitutional constraints, theoretically. Whitney has written quite a lot about Palunteer specifically, how they used Palunteer to get around the Constitution, because, you say, well, they're a private company, they could do what they want. So government agencies like the CIA said, yeah, they can do what they want. So let's subcontract out the stuff that we might get in trouble if we did it, because they don't have those constraints. Yep. Palunteer's earliest funder besides Peter Thiel, the CIA. Palunteer's first client for its first several years as a company, the CIA. Where did Palunteer engineers every 2 weeks for years go for guidance in developing their products? CIA HQ. Palunteer's originally intended clients per CEO Alex Karp, the CIA. If there ever was a CIA front company, it's Palunteer, though Peter Thiel has since quipped that the CIA is a front for Palunteer. So Jimmy tweeted this out. Does this guy look like someone panicking and thou doth protest too much? That's because he's doing exactly what he's being accused of, and people are starting to catch on, and he's panicking. So this was an appearance the Karp did on very, very, very friendly to CEO criminal network, CNBC.
New York Times has an article. Here's the headline. Trump taps Palunteer to compile data on Americans. They paint a pretty Orwellian picture of what you and the Trump administration are doing.
I was walking over here. I picked a random engineer and I said, we have a contest. Find all the technically absolutely erroneous things in this article in 90 seconds. And I picked a random engineer. I was like, well, how many do you think you could do in 90 seconds? He's like, well, 15, 20. But leaving aside the technical, look, it's probably
wrong.
hard
Is that
for
what you're
them,
saying?
I'm sure. Well, it's not. Well, first of all, on the tech side, it is so ridiculous. I read the New York Times. It's literally like I'm a dyslexic. They might as well be hiring me to do a spelling bee. So maybe they just have friends who are tech bros, but they can't.
Okay, and I'm going to say this seems to be a very common tactic of these billionaire CEOs, because Elon likes to pull that line too. Yeah, my head's made out of wood. I'm I'm a stupid guy. It's a deflection to hide what they actually are and what they actually do. I couldn't be responsible for this. I'm dyslexic. I'm a dumb guy.
And hire on a meritocratic basis, I don't know. So that's up to them. We have a contest. Find all the errors in 90 seconds. I think somebody will find 50 or 60. But the more important thing is we are not surveilling Americans. We are not building a database of surveillance. And if you wanted to do that, the last platform in the world you would buy is Palunteer. And don't believe me, go look, spend 10 minutes and look at the architecture of our product. 10 minutes. And then see how ridiculous that is. By the way, writing ridiculous shit in a highly charged environment is dangerous. And the New York Times should take responsibility for the danger they're putting out in the world.
Dangerous.
There really are people who believe.
Isn't it funny how woke these anti-wokesters become whenever it suits them? How quickly they go to ruling anything they don't like as out of bounds on the basis that it's threatening their safety or the safety of the country or the safety of whoever, fill in the blank. They go right to the woke language. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to say this.
That crap.
Well,
They believe that.
One thing that's true, though, is that
Yeah, our code is not open source, but hey, go take 10 minutes looking into it. And the only people who are able to do that have security clearances and work for our company. But hey, go ahead and do it. Sounds good. Sounds like it makes sense, right?
I'm wearing a plain white t-shirt, just like you at home.
Just like
How
you. I'm
dangerous
just
can I be?
folks.
Yes.
I'm just folks.
I'm just one of you.
So this is also from Jimmy. Palunteer is creating the most mind-boggling surveillance state apparatus known to man, and they're doing it in conjunction with the Trump administration. It used to be called Total Information Awareness. Not only are they taking your IRS data and your Social Security data and your healthcare data, but they are compiling your buying habits, your phone calls and texts, your Google searches, etc. Everything and anything about you, and they put it into a database on you. You will be controlled in all things, including pre-crime. You will have an effective social credit score and a digital ID and CBDC. Trump is the perfect person to have this happen under because he sells himself as the opposite of a deep state character, and so it silences his base, which is the natural opposition to this kind of surveillance state. It's worse than you think, and it's definitely why the head of Palunteer is appearing so freaked out. People are catching on. Scott Smielkowski, that's a name. Diabolical. Why is Trump allowing this to happen? Jimmy continues. Because Trump is not what he appears to be. Why did he shut down the investigation into his assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania? Why did his FBI chief insist that Epstein committed suicide? Why did Trump keep Doge from going to the Pentagon? Why did Trump explode the Pentagon budget and the debt instead of cutting it like he promised? It's become Trump. It's because Trump is not actually an opponent of the deep state, but he is in bed with them, which is why he was allowed to become president in the first place.
And we were asked if we were willing to supply our product philanthropically, basically for free, and I was very in favor of this because our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
Set a global standard for the world for behavior. So yeah, to Jimmy's point, the reason that they brought in Donald Trump was because Harris was never going to be able to sell the New World Order. She was never going to be able to sell it. They saw that. Listen, the smoking gun, no pun intended to me, is the assassination thing. This is a guy who has made a point of going after every law firm that ever looked at him funny since he won the election. And he didn't turn the place upside down as soon as he got in to get to the bottom of this assassination. Look how obscured and erased the details of this assassination have become. Who has tried to kill a president whose name you don't know? David Hinckley. I still right off the top of my head. Right? Do you know this guy's name? We're in this space. Jimmy, do you know this guy's name? We tried.
I do not.
Right.
I do not know that.
Right. How is that not constantly being drilled? Every assassination attempt I've ever seen, the person's name was front page every day.
Yeah. His last name is Crooks because I looked it up. I forget his first name though. I looked it up recently because that is a point that you made. But yeah, no, it is. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that is definitely a tell.
Right. And then you've got Pam Bondi saying we've got thousands of tapes, and you got Kash Patel saying we don't have tapes. These are not the tapes you're looking for. Tries to pull a Jedi mind trick there with Rogan. Yeah, man, it's becoming increasingly obvious that Trump was allowed to ascend to the presidency because, look, they got this thing wired, man. If they can't get it one way, they'll get it another way. And now I do believe there is a lot of the MAGA movement who do see through this, and you are seeing a lot of them speak out on it. The ones who don't speak out on it, that's going to tell you who the people getting paid are. And a lot of them are getting paid. A lot of it is just a business at this point.
But and here's the other thing, though. Even with regard to, like, yeah, I think there are a considerable amount of Trump supporters, or at least Trump voters, who are hip to this. That's why you're seeing all this conversation around Palunteer from guys like Ian Carroll and the like. From an electoral standpoint, though, what the hell are they going to do about it? I mean, this is the vice grip that they have. Like, what are you going to do? You can't vote for the Democrats, right?
Right.
Like, in the electoral system, the only guy who could have really done anything about this was Eugene Debs, and he had to run from prison, right? Like, people who are really going to be a threat don't get close. If you get close, it's because they can get to you.
They got to you. Exactly.
You don't engage at all. But in terms of the electoral thing, it's just, I mean, if this doesn't tell you what a dead end that is, I don't know what does.
Y'all, it's scary. It's scary. And yes, I purposely chose to show that much of their clip. I'll include the link to the full video in the description. But I wanted you all to see all of it. I could have went and read the tweets myself, but they did such a great job, man. I wanted them to just read all of it out. This is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. This back and forth between Trump and Newsom and that stuff is a distraction, bro. It's to once again keep people thinking that it's left versus right. It's not. They're two wings of the same bird, and when people hear that, I need them to understand what that means. Two wings of the same bird doesn't just mean, hey, look, they're working together. It doesn't just mean that. It means left wing, right wing, same bird, same direction. They're just having people start from different places, getting different politicians, placing them in position, having people and convincing people that they're really fighting for different causes. Bro, they're all going in the same direction. They are. And most of them know about it. What they're doing in LA is the same thing they did with the Black Lives Matter movement, which, by the way, I don't support the organization. Obviously, I support the phrase Black Lives Matter because, of course, all lives matter, but Black Lives Matter as well. But they're doing the same thing that they did with the riots, because the women that ran the Black Lives Matter are witches. They're literally witches. And the psyop that they conducted onto society and the public with the Black Lives Matter I started my podcast in 2020 after all of the stuff with the George Floyd and the Ahmaud Arbery's and all of the protests and riots that were happening that year. And I interviewed a lady in Minnesota who lived right down the street. She's actually a famous chef now. That's crazy. But I interviewed her when I first started my podcast. She told me, she said, Demetrius, listen to me. Anybody that's in Minnesota that go to these protests will tell you. Most of these protests were peaceful, but you will have these outliers at the protests that will just be disruptive, that will come out of nowhere. They'll start looting, they'll start throwing stuff through people's business windows. We don't know where these people came from. And then they came up with a name for these people. It's the same stuff with what's happening in LA. They're doing the same stuff to us as a people, and for some reason a lot of us can't see it. And then you got these paid actors on the right, just like there are paid actors on the left that are in high positions that are not politicians, that then come out and double down and support Trump and support everything that's happening right now. As if they can't critically think anymore and see that the same thing that happened with the Black Lives Matter protests is happening now under the guise of being on the right. This is not good, people. This is not good. Because now what they're about to do is they're about to try to pull in this bill and get Palunteer to administer all this surveillance across our country. We're losing our country as we know it. Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.